Hello, hello, welcome back everyone. In this video, we're going to be finishing up some of the techniques that we began in our previous videos. And then in our last video, we will be wrapping up the final 5 techniques that we have at the bottom of our page. One of the ones we have yet to finish is up on the top row here, glazing. So that's where we're going to begin. On this one, we've created for ourselves a base layer, and we're going to be adding on top of that and creating a glaze, so a wash over top. I'm going to be using blue for this. So as I've reminded you time and time again, we're going to activate our paint with water. And I'm going to simply paint over top of what I already have on my paper here. I don't want to create a thick layer of this blue. I just want to create a light glaze. So I'm going over this, spreading it out. And you can see what's happening here. We have 3 different colors that are now showing up. We have our yellow from before, we have our blue, which we just added, and we have a color in the middle, a greenish blue, where those 2 colors are overlapping and giving the illusion of a new 3rd color. So glazing allows us to add colors on top of other colors to create new colors, even if our base layer is already dry. We're going to be adding another layer on top for our negative painting. I'm going to choose a color that is definitely darker than the color that I have picked for my base layer. If you chose something that was already dark, like a brown or a black, you're just going to be adding another layer on top, and that will automatically make it darker. But if you've chosen a light color down here, I would choose, just to help yourself out, a color that is darker already. So I'm going to do purple. Negative painting is all about creating shapes out of our base layer. So I'm going to create a letter using my brush. I'm going around the edges of my shape, and I will leave my base layer for the object itself and continue to go over all of the remaining base layer that I don't want to be visible. So negative painting is simply using the background to create your shape instead of the layer that's on top. So you can create any shape you would like here. You're going to choose a color that is darker than your base. Use your brush to create the outline of your object first, and then color over the remainder of your background, leaving the part that you would like to show as your object. We want to leave that our background color. Lifting and feathering out is going to require a brush change. So I'm going to provide for you, if you're in class, something that looks more like an oil painting brush. So these have really rough, rigid bristles. This is going to allow us to kind of scrub along the edge of this and lift it out and kind of even this out and make it more of a smooth edge. I'm going to add water to this brush. If you're at home and you don't have a brush like this, I would just use any brush that you have that has rougher bristles than your watercolor brush. And with the water on my brush, so no color, just water, even though this has been dried for days, I'm going to now lift some of the pigment and paint off of my paper just by using water. So I'm going back and forth here, and you can see it's lifting some of that blue off of my paper just from using and applying water. So this would be something that would be really great for clouds. Even if your background is completely dried out, you can always apply water and lift it off. Now on this side here, I'm going to try feathering some of this out, which essentially just means lightening up this edge, making it softer. So I'm going to use the same brush and water, and I'm going to go in a circular motion with my brush. And you can see that this is really blending my edge out and making it a lot lighter, giving me more of a smooth transition from my blue into the white of my paper. Now this is something that you have to be aware of, that the more you're scrubbing at your paper, the more of these flakes that you're going to get. You can see that some of my paper has begun flaking off. So we don't want to be too rough with this technique, and we don't want to add too much water to this. So at a certain point, when you begin seeing these flakes, you know that you need to stop applying water, and I can always brush those flakes off. But that is the paper's sign of telling you, hey, you're either adding too much water or you are being a little too aggressive with the technique. So that's lifting or feathering out. This is, again, really great to remember for clouds, or even if you make a mistake. Sometimes I will do this. If I've painted something and I really don't like how it looks, but it's already dried, I can try to apply some water to that and scrub it out. And again, that's not always going to work the way that you want it to. You do have to be gentle with this technique so that you don't end up with these paper fragments that are coming off of our paper. But if you're gentle about it, you can lift some of that pigment off of your paper. And the final one that we're going to try in this video is the magic eraser technique that we began a few videos ago as well. So I have a Mr. Clean magic eraser. If you do not have one of these at home and you're trying this at home, then you can skip this one. But if you're in class, I'm going to be providing you with one of these to use. We're going to try this two different ways. I'm going to tape off a section first and see what it looks like just with using, I'm gonna get a bigger piece of tape here, just with using tape as a hard edge for us to work off of, and then we'll try without the edge. I'm going to wet my magic eraser. I'm gonna dab some of this off just so that it's not super saturated. And inside of this area that I've masked off for myself, I'm going to erase with this. You can see it is really lightening up that area. So this again is something that you could use for clouds or an area where you are not happy with and you've messed up and you want to try again. If we take this masking area off, you will have that shape. If you wanted to have lighter shapes in an area, maybe for a background or whatever reason, this would also be a great technique to utilize. And we're also going to try this on the left without this masking agent and just see that, again, you can really lift your pigment off of your paper. Even though this has been dried for days, the magic eraser is allowing me to pull some of that paint off of my paper. Okay, stay tuned. We're going to cover these final 5 in the next video.